Hi, in this video we'll be going over a GUI lab in C#. So we'll be just doing, so this is supposed to be a telephone number here. We'll click the button and format it. So I've just started to drop, so I drag and drop some of the controls on the form. So this is called numbers, I think actually that's a number text box. I'll just double check that. And then this we have, this here we, for this one, this control, we have a format button. And then we have an exit button. So that the name property for those and the identifiers were set to the, so you can see it in the top left corner here. I know the text is kind of small. So this is a format button, exit button, and this one is number text box. That's singular and not plural for numbers. Sorry, for number. Okay, so let's start doing the code here. So there's a few things that we're going to need first. So we'll need a, I'm not going to double click these and generate the event handlers for those. We can just code those, so we can call them here. So we'll just go on the constructor here. We'll say format button. Oh, what's wrong with that? Okay, so designer, what's this? Format button didn't come up. Okay, maybe it did. So we'll say format button dot click plus equals new event handler. And here we'll pass in, we'll say format button underscore click. We'll go under the constructor here and say private void format button underscore click. And then here we'll say that it takes a object sender and comma event args e. So that should be fine now, and then we'll do the same for the exit button. We'll reference our identifier or name, basically the identifier here, so exit button dot click plus equals new event. Because we want the click event, that's why we call the dot operator with the dot click here. The syntax to create an event handler is like this. You can use a lambda, I just do it this way. So then we say new event handler. And here we can pass in, not format button, we can pass in exit button. We want to call it underscore click. I think that's really just the method name. So then here we'll just do the same thing. It's not going to know what it is yet. So here we'll say private void. We'll say exit button underscore click. And that it takes object sender comma event args e as a parameter. Okay, so that should all be set up. Then here, actually we'll just go down here. So then we'll say private bool, we'll say is valid number. So this is going to be a Boolean method. We'll say that it takes a string parameter str. Okay, so then now here we'll say that we have a constant int. So local constant int, we'll call it valid length. We can point that to 10. Then here we'll say bool valid. And here we'll say points to true. So bool valid points to true, so we're going to have a local bool there. So we're setting it to true initially. Most of the time you set them to false. Sometimes you set them to true first, it just depends. I'm just thinking that most of the time you do, at least I do. You could just switch it, well, you can think of a bool like a switch, so in this case we're just switching it on right now. And then here we'll have an if statement. We'll say if str.length points to valid underscore length, so the constant. Then, okay, so what's happening so far? Let's just talk about that for right now. One sec here. Okay, so we have what's happening so far. We have a private bool method named isValidNumber. Takes a string parameter str, so constant int. So we have some locals here, local variables. So we have constant int valid length points to 10. Bool valid points to true, and then we have if str.length. So if the string.length points to or is equal to 10. So then we'll say, so basically the isValidNumber method accepts a string as a parameter and returns true if it contains 10 digits, or false otherwise. So we're going to check that at least that the telephone has to be 10 digits. The telephone number has to be 10 digits. It's similar to the password, so we're just checking if the string's length is going to be 10 digits. We're passing the data as a string, so it's not going to be a number. It's not going to be a number format. It's going to be like a string. So then we're going to check the string's length if the basically if the string is 10 digits long. Then I believe we're going to use isDigit at some point coming up. So now we'll check each character in the string, so we can do that with a for each loop. That's one word, okay, for each. So here we'll say for each char in str, because we're referencing, char ch in str. So for each char ch in str. So we're saying, okay, let's do that one more time, sorry. So for each, and we're saying, we're gonna have our pointer variable, so it's gonna be char. It's gonna be of a character type because we're trying to index a string here. So we're gonna call a character. We're just gonna name it ch, and then we're gonna say in the string, which is gonna be this string parameter. So then we're gonna say here, we're gonna say that if the, so this is where we use isDigit. So here if the character dot, so if the character, so if not, so basically not means that it's going to flip the boolean. So if it's true, it's going to be false. If it's false, it's going to be true. So basically isDigit. So if we say if not char isDigit, passing in ch. So the way I usually read this is that if the character, then I go back, is not a digit. It's kind of easier to read, but if you're coding this, you're going to do something that you're going to be like, okay, well, I want to flip it, so I'm just going to add a not. Some people, I guess, would do the not first. It's just up to you. If it's a little bit tricky. It's a bit of a tricky symbol to use. So then here, if character is a digit, in this case, we're flipping that to a not is not a digit. Then here we're going to check if the, because remember, as the for each loop iterates each index, starting at, well, it doesn't show you the count, but it starts at an iteration 0, then iteration 1, then iteration 2. Each time it starts at index 0 and goes to the next one on each iteration to the right. Goes to the next index in the string to the right, so 0 and then 1 and then 2. So if the character is not a digit, then basically valid, which we have here, is going to point to false. We could have done this backwards. It's just up to you. Like this seems to be backwards. I would have set it false here, and if it was valid, I would have set it to true. But it's up to you. We'll close the if. We'll close the for each loop. I think there's one more if here. So outside of this if, we'll come down, then we'll have an else. We'll open a block here. So here we'll set valid to point to false. So underneath that, then we'll return valid. Okay, so we'll do the next one here. So this one's going to have to take a reference parameter. So the telephone format method accepts a string argument by reference and formats it as a telephone number. Oops, sorry, just hit the mic here. So let's just see what this one is at the end here. Okay, doesn't show the IntelliSense. To show that it's the end. So here we have, for example, private void telephone format. I'll pass in a ref string str. So here we'll say str points to str.insert. We're going to insert a string, and we're going to insert it at index 0. We're going to insert the left parenthesis sign, just like that. A little bit tricky. The reason why I believe they're using the ref keyword is that because a string object cannot be, it's immutable. Without, I guess in this language C#, without the ref keyword. Because I believe in Java you can't modify a string completely. You have to point it to a new string, copy, and then kind of like an array kind of thing. So basically objects, they just can't be changed. So a string's an object, an array's an object. So that's just kind of a C# thing. It's actually much different than Java in that sense. It's a little bit different if you're not used to it, but I think that's pretty much why. I'm just kind of thinking because a string is actually an object, and you have to do that. You have to use the ref to change arrays as well. So I think basically you just can't. Once an object is instantiated, you can't change its contents. So the way to do that is, I guess we're going to use a field. We're going to use the ref keyword here. So we're going to insert this. Basically, we're going to insert this left parentheses on it. So basically, did we go over the insert method? I think we did. I just want to check that if we did, and just give you guys a definition. I'm not sure where it's going to be. It's going to be a lot of stuff to look through, because we went over a lot of methods. Okay, so maybe I'll try to make a note of that here. Did we go over insert in the notes? So if you're wondering where that would be in the playlist, the C# playlist. I'm just wondering what the definition was for that and how we used it. But anyways, we'll just come back to that. So I'll just try to make a note of that somewhere here. Oh, that's okay. So that's okay. So we'll just come back to that later. Hopefully I can remember that. So now we'll just continue with this part. So we're gonna insert that right parentheses in. So we'll go to the next line here, and then we'll say, actually no, is that still in is that in an if? Yeah, that's not in an if, okay. So we'll insert the right parentheses and that hyphen. Okay, so here we'll go str points to str.insert. Then we'll insert the hyphen, sorry, the right parentheses at index 4, and then here we'll say str points to str.insert. Insert whoops happened there. We'll insert the hyphen at index 0. Actually, sorry, at index 8. And that's pretty much it. And then we'll go to the, okay, so we just have two more here, the format, so basically just one more, the button and then the exit, which is just one line. So we'll just move this back up here. Okay, so here we'll have a string input. So a string, so it's just a local string here. We're going to point it to the number text box dot text. We're going to get the input from the text box from the user. We're going to trim that so it's going to take out any extra spaces. Okay, so here we have if is valid number. So that's checking if is valid number returns true, passing in the parameter input. Then we'll say that we want to call telephone format. So we're going to format the number first. So we'll pass an ref input, and then here we'll say messagebox.show. So if you're trying to do something and it's not working and you're using an object, I try to pass them as refs. I know it's difficult if you're not used to coding C#. It's just like a C# unique thing, especially from Java and like C and like other things as well, like Python. But pretty much if you're trying to modify something, try it a different way. If that doesn't work, then try to use the ref keyword. Or if you're just going to try to do it first, just try to go for the ref keyword. But if you want to keep it general to like all programming languages, there should be another way to do it. In the worst case, try the ref keyword. So you're going to have to call the ref keyword in the argument call of the parameter and in the method call. In the argument, you're going to have to call the ref keyword. What I meant is that you're going to call the ref keyword in the method's argument for the method call when you pass the parameter and in the method's parameter definition. So it'll be both of them. Usually through methods is when you use it, like when you're passing them through methods, like when you want to pass an object to one method and then pass an argument to it, and that's pretty much coming from a field or something, or so where is our str? Our str is going to be coming from the format button, input. Then we pass input to the telephone format. That's where we're using the ref. So the input comes from the format. It comes when the button gets clicked here. When the button gets clicked, so pretend a number's in that text box, you've just typed one in, then you've clicked the format button. When you click the format button, the string that was entered into the text box gets passed to the telephone format method, and you're going to pass that as a reference to the telephone format method, which takes a reference string, so we pass it a reference string. Therefore, we're able to modify the string. I believe without the ref keyword, it wouldn't have worked. So if you're finding something that doesn't work with what you're trying to do, usually with objects, then you can try the ref keyword. I know it's a little bit tricky because only C# uses it, but that enables you to modify. So the ref keyword enables you to modify. Pretty much allows you to basically modify the parameter itself. So it's a little bit tricky. We talked about it in the notes, but this is a pretty good example. Okay, so where are we here? We're passing if is valid number, passing an input, then we're saying telephone format ref input, messagebox.show, we're passing an input, and then here we're going to have an else block here. Then we're going to say messagebox.show, and we'll pass, we'll say that if the is valid number returns false, then we're going to say, okay, well there's a problem with the number, so we'll say invalid number, or something like that. So we'll just output an error message to the user so that they can see that that they did something wrong. So then here in the exit button, we're just going to reference the form with the this keyword, and we'll just say close like that. That should be it, so let me just check if it works. Okay, so we're supposed to enter a 10-digit number, so let's go like 604, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. That should be a normal number from North America. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's correct. Format. And it formats the number. We could have added some spaces in that as well. But so around 604, which is the area code for British Columbia, or for like the lower mainland in British Columbia. Then pretty much here we have so 604, and then that puts parentheses around the left and right of 604. We could have added a space there, but we didn't. I don't see a space there, and then it's like 1, 2, 3, and then hyphen 4, 5, 6, 7. So we could have added a space somewhere between here or something. But that's okay. We could just try it here. How does it look again? Sorry, I know you guys can't see it, but a message box has popped up, and it just formatted the numbers. So we have 604, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. 604, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Click format. Okay, so we would want a space between 604 and 1, 2, 3. Okay. You can always format the string. How can we format the string? Well, we could you could take out the, you could pretty much just add it in. You could try to modify the string and add it. Where do we format the string actually? Where do we use here where do we take that? We call the trim method somewhere. Where do we do that? Right here. Okay. Okay, so one thing you could do is you could take the trim out, but if the user enters some random numbers with a bunch of different spaces and stuff, then that wouldn't have worked. If they would have entered a letter, this wouldn't have been proper. But it tells us that it's an invalid number. We basically would have had to change actually a lot of it to do that. But that's okay. So pretty much that's just the end of the tutorial. So in the next video we'll be going over another lab. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys liked the video, you can like and subscribe to support the channel for more programming and investing tutorials. In the next video we'll be going over another lab, practicing some more of the character and string modifications and methods. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Thanks.